Even though it was a peaceful kingdom far from the world's hustle, it was ruled by a king and queen. They loved each other very much, and they themselves felt that they were indeed a perfect match. One day, a snowstorm hit the kingdom. You could say that it almost destroyed her, but the sweet necessity of her day was the birth of a daughter to the king and queen, and they named her in memory of that day. The story of Snow White was altered, with the actress Samira replacing the original Snow White character, likely to balance the racial representation in the tale. They have it. He searched a box in London. What matters to us is day after day. My love is crazy. This girl grew up with her family who taught her with all love. How will she remain a queen after them? And if God wills, the queen will return with her goodness again after she was born one day, and the beggar means the kingdom is not our subject. And she was still Snow White, living a sweet life with her family, until one day Snow White got a very bad illness and died, and the king and Snow White were very sad until one day. Then comes a witch from a very far place, and now she is so beautiful that the king tells her it's time for the lucky ones and he marries her. But this witch wasn't as nice as she seemed. She was evil and only cared about her beauty and herself. We'll find out if she has a magical mirror that can only answer one question, as she doesn't have any other powers. She always asked it, who is the most beautiful person on earth? And it always answered that the witch is the most beautiful person on earth. I'm not sure how it means I'm prettier than her. The important thing is that one day will come. She told the king the Southern Kingdom plans to attack and he must respond. Mike was saying goodbye to his daughter Snow White and was about to lead his army to fight the Southern Kingdom, but as expected, he wasn't coming back, and it was supposed to be Snow White who would take over the kingdom, but the witch refused this and seized power from Snow White and the kingdom. It became filled with sadness and depression instead of happiness and joy, Khalid. She turned the kingdom's farmers into her soldiers and plundered the kingdom's resources. And the worst of all is that she cut off Snow White's hair and locked her in the castle, preventing her from going out for fear of her changing, and she's scared. One day she will be the most beautiful woman in the world, while Snow White, unaware of her own beauty, will remain the most beautiful on the inside as she grows up. And she would be talking to animals, she's throwing them, dealing with the witch who is testing her in 7 ways, and she still hopes that she can change by talking or by a capable power. I mean, the important thing is that at night, Snow White goes to live with her. She believes they give some food to the people for their benefit, but the witch disagrees, saying power and weapons outlast love. As long as the people are divided and focused on their hunger, they will favor her rule. Snow White remains silent and returns to conversing with the animals who only have each other. Snow White sits in the castle. A hungry thief steals from the pantry. She claims to be the princess and suggests he seek refuge from the witch instead of stealing. He says there's no point and leaves her. Snow White does not give up. She goes to the witch, and the thief finds her normally and takes her watch to the witch, and the witch wants to sentence him to death to steal, even to live small, but the princess tries to lessen the punishment a little. After a lot of talk and negotiation, she was able to let him stay for a few days, but after the princess left, she went to replace him living on the doorstep so he could eat after he found out she was the princess, and it's clear that she was impressed with him. I mean, the witch goes to the mirror and asks it, "Mirror, mirror, how many years to this day?" "You mean," she says, "Mirror, mirror, who is the fairest one of all?" The mirror would tell the witch, "You," pleasing her as she'd say, "you are second to none," after Snow White. This would upset the witch greatly. She then orders her servant to take Snow White to a very distant place in the forest under the pretext of picking apples, with the intention of killing her and bringing back her heart in a box to confirm her death. Though frightened, the servant agrees and takes her away. He takes her to pick apples far away, intending to kill her, but ultimately can't do it because she's just a little girl. He warns her that the wicked witch is trying to kill her and urges her to run away quickly before he changes his mind. The witch had asked him, "Would you do anything in exchange for not being killed?" Snow White? Anyway, Snow White runs into the forest, which is not a city but a wilderness full of trees and frightened animals. Snow White finds the place very scary until she falls and encounters an animal with glowing eyes in the dark. As it emerges from the darkness, we see it's just a small, ordinary deer. Snow White pulls out food from her dress, and the deer, along with all the other forest animals, start to approach her. After realizing her kindness, the forest is revealed to be filled with flowers and roses, not a scary place. As she continues interacting and sharing with the animals, she discovers a house in the middle of the forest. Snow White gets scared and retreats a bit. When the 7 dwarf owners of the house who work in a mine arrive, they are initially scared to see Snow White sleeping. They consider fleeing and locking the door, but one musters the courage to approach Snow White to discover who she is. When they realize she is a human, the dwarves are happy. They talk to her to find out her story, suspecting she is a runaway. But when they learn she is Snow White, they recognize her as the princess and say she cannot return to the kingdom. Except that the witch gives Snow White a potion. She talks with the dwarfs and gets to know each one of them. The mirror asks, "Mirror, mirror, who is the fairest of them all?" The mirror reveals to her that Snow White, believed to be dead, is in fact the fairest in all the land. The queen opens the box expecting Snow White's heart, but finds an apple instead. Realizing the servant's trickery, she sets out to punish him for his deceit. She swears vengeance and orders her entire army to scour the world for Snow White and bring her the heart as proof of their loyalty. They set out, some with heavy hearts, but in the end they all agree that they will stand by each other. His name is Dobby Fadobi because he usually doesn't speak. He's shy. He doesn't speak because he's afraid they'll gang up on him, not because he's upset. Sometimes he leaves the house upset, but he'll go out with his music and take his time. He's not speaking due to fear of them ganging up on him, not because he's upset. And she tries to break the cycle. This is one by one. She teaches him first how to be brave, and in the second attempt, he learns how to be brave. And he's afraid to hear the majority. His voice is a chirping bell. My heart is trembling. The water is boiling. I mean, let's get back to our topic, not our important topic. When the majority hear his voice, they really like it and they love it. They want to do the same, so they start to imitate him. They get upset from the second time, so Snoo and Y tell them they still have 4 and 70 years to get upset. What do you think? We remain a little bit friends. I mean, just when good, they do it in spite of the punishment you want in some. The important thing is that her hours start to give everyone a turn to work at home and organize the relationships between them. And after a while, she decides to leave her house and set off in the wilderness in search of a group of young people. They were originally fleeing from the kingdom. Due to their victory over her father rather than the witch, she decides to turn on them and join their ranks in hopes of finding information about her father. The years remain in the forest, and once she pulls on a tree from a boy she launched, she was originally honest and liked him before, and he wants to be her boyfriend because the witch's soldiers were hostile, and Lan is one of the king's victors. For years she sought information about her father, hearing only rumors of his imprisonment in the southern kingdom. Her son, weak and hopeless, wishes only to live and die in peace, uninvolved in his grandfather's fate. She spent years trying to kill time, and Jonathan, who is a brave knight, must strive to restore the king again, and she accepts the rest of the group of supporters of the king. They are utterly devastated and lack the tools to cope before even speaking to one another. Jonathan and his team help her escape by fighting the magic soldiers that come to kill her, distracting them so she can get away. Wyatt tells the flock of birds to fly, not like her clothes, so the soldiers think it's her and leave the soldiers to follow her. And indeed, the plan succeeds, and Snow White escapes on the horse and turns back to save the king again after the soldiers have gone to chase her. During her hours, we see a distant soldier struggling to kill Snow White, but Johnson at the last moment deflects the blow that he takes in his chest, so Snow White comes to him on the bones to treat him. Unfortunately, he suffers and returns safe. His hours are Snow White mourning him a lot, and some confess their love, but we do not believe in them because the witch's soldiers arrive, so the king's supporters have to flee. He informs Snow White that she must flee in the opposite direction, and they will reunite in 2 days to rescue her father from the southern kingdom. Johnson is arrested by the evil witch's guard and takes her time to the witch. And who knows that the necklace for Snow White on his neck has a relationship with her? She's near where they met, and her watch takes the necklace. She puts many things in a cup, drinks them, and becomes an old woman. And she searches in the books on how to make the existing apple poisonous. So if Snow White falls into a deep sleep, she will never come out of it, and the plan is for the witch herself to go to Snow White and give her the apple so she falls into an eternal coma she will never wake up from. After a brief trip, she reaches the dwarf's home, finds Snow White, and claims to have a message from the witch. Anne Johnson was arrested. Evidence corroborates her account. The necklace she has with her, Snow White wants to take it off by force from the witch, but the old woman who is actually the witch. If you're not cautious, you might tell her the subject is highly risky and that sacrificing yourself for love is worthwhile. But she can help her and give her the Apple Watch on the basis that when she eats it, she can help Johnson. Snow White eats something that causes her to fall, revealing her magic watch and a secret confession that she killed her father with her own hands. Upon hearing this, Snow White faints, losing her magic watch. She walks through the gathering crowd with Billow Snow White leaning on her and her watch. They are very sad and regret their actions because they can't save her. Johnson is in the witch's prison, and he meets Snow White's sick servant, and the witch has imprisoned him until she kills him, and her watch helps Johnson to break the chain connected to it and escape. After a short time, he arrives at Snow White, who is in the midst of the dwarfs, seemingly dead or in a deep coma. Johnson spends half an hour reviving and caring for her and talking to her, and in the end, he kisses her. So Snow White comes back healthy again. To break the curse, someone who loves her or the Prophet Mohanu must kiss her. The crucial thing is that she comes back to life, and her watch tells Johnson that her father died in the same way, and they must regain the kingdom with their own hands if they want to win, and Snow White sets off with the dwarfs and Johnson to the kingdom. When people see her standing up against the witch or for each other, the crucial element is the witch. After that, Snow White comes down and tells the people that she is kind and beautiful, but unfortunately this means she won't be able to protect you from the enemy or be able to build a strong army or protect you from the southern kingdom or anything. When she asks for a cup of magic love and starts to Snow White in order to kill her in front of the people, but Snow White can't at the moment. Her time is walking and she orders the guards to kill her in front of all the people so that they remain a lesson to them but Snow. And their knowledge would be a guard by their names. And she tells them that they are farmers, not knowing whether this is a team or not, but it means that they are farmers and married. They were living a sweet life before a witch who took everything from them and enlisted them in her army. Even the guards turned against the witch and stayed with Snow White, and the people naturally with Snow White. She orders the witch to leave the kingdom permanently. The angered witch attempts to kill them, but fails to reach the king's forces. So the witch comes to her mirror and asks it if she is still the most beautiful, right? It tells her that your beauty does not exceed the limits of your skin, but her beauty comes from the depth of her soul. He lives like this, and I don't understand my role except to be patient with your mother's spirit. The important thing is that when her hour comes, the witch becomes stubborn about the mirror and breaks it, and when her hour comes, she pulls it out of her or something like that. I mean, the important thing is that we are done with it from the beginning, and Snow White returned again as the queen of the kingdom and married Johnson. People live prosperously, leaving behind children. Companionship is most important. This was not our topic, but our topic was if you subscribe to the channel and the screen will get you all the new, but this was with you a story, and toot toot finish the story.